Hello and welcome back to right outside Haslam Field, Tennessee football's practice facility. I'm Ryan Sylvia. This is Noah Taylor. We are with VolReport.com on the Rivals Network, and we are officially in game week, full preparation for the opener against Virginia this Saturday. So we were able to talk to head coach Josh Heupel and then two guys on the defensive end in Doneiko and Aaron Beasley to kind of get a gauge on how they're feeling heading into this week. So what was your biggest takeaway from what we heard from them?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Doneiko and where he's settled in at corner now, a guy that's played all over the field. We've talked a lot about the depth on this defense and where guys last year with injuries and things maybe had to play some spots they hadn't played in a while, or maybe they weren't really comfortable at. So it's good to hear a guy that you expect to kind of stand out in that secondary. A lot is expected out of that group this year. You know, with everybody back, they improved last year. You're looking for them to take that next step. Doneiko is one of those guys that's played a lot of football here, and here he is now at the corner position. He said he's been there all through fall camp. Really interested to see Saturday. We talked on the podcast last night. We're looking forward to the defense, how they're going to do. He's a guy specifically, I think, how he handles that position now.
And one thing about Doneiko, he's a big hitter. He's a hard hitter.
Yeah.
He's a guy that'll kind of lay it on a ball carrier. Same with Aaron Beasley. Asked about kind of what's the anxiousness heading into the season a little bit, and they're just like, we just want to play football. We just want to get out there. I'm sure that they're getting a little bit sick of hitting their own guys in practice, and they're ready to kind of take it out on another team. Talked to Josh Heupel too, and he's like, it's officially football time. We just want to get out there. Like, I'm talking to the media now, I'm going through all this, but we really just want to get out there and play some football. So that was my biggest takeaway, is kind of all three of them are just ready to get out there on the football field in Nashville and get things started this season. So Tennessee is absolutely ready to begin this season in what should be a pretty successful one here in Heupel's third year. But before we end today's episode, we want to talk about the depth chart that was just released from Tennessee football. Not the most revealing thing. There's a lot of oars going down the list, not exactly giving you the biggest look at who's starting. Do you want to talk about kind of the offensive line and what that's looked like on this depth chart?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the biggest question mark going into Saturday. I think you know what you're going to get out of Joe Milton. There's a lot of talent at receiver, a lot of experience and talent at tight end, running back as well. I think the biggest question surrounding this offense starts up front, because Cooper Mays has largely been unavailable in fall camp. Josh Heupel gave an update today. They said they're going to check that availability throughout the week. Kind of the answer you'd expect from him. When you look at this depth chart, he's still sitting there at center as the starter, probably what you expect. Javonte Spraggins also started, which is what you expect. So they don't really give us a lot of reveal a lot of what that offensive line is going to look like. But we're really interested to see what that looks like. I think the center behind him is a little bit interesting. Ollie Davis, Dane Davis. We've seen those guys take reps in practice. Addison Nichols not listed on there. It's a guy in the spring that was behind Cooper Mays. That's kind of an interesting thing, but not a lot of information on the offensive lines. That's one of those we'll probably have to wait Saturday when that first team runs out there and see what they look like. Yeah,
it's definitely wait to see what that first team looks like, and then also willing to bet they kind of rotate a lot of guys through, see exactly what they look like in game action. So it'll be interesting to see. By the time you get to Florida, you kind of have to have that 5 ironed out, and you just want to be playing those 5. At that point, you don't really want to be rotating guys throughout the whole game. So it'll be big to see what they do against Virginia, what they do against Austin Peay, and what that looks like. As you said, Cooper Mays and Javonte Spraggins, the only 2 guys on that 5-man unit that are designated starters heading into the season. You look at left tackle, we think it's probably going to be John Campbell Jr., but he's got an oar with Gerald Mincey. You look at left guard, I think they probably want to go with Ollie Lane there if he's not playing center, assuming Cooper Mays is healthy. But that's 3 guys listed as possible starters there in Andrej Karic, Jackson Lampley, and Ollie Lane. You go over to right tackle then, you think it's probably going to be Jeremiah Crawford, but they also list Dane Davis as one of those oars. So there's not a lot of answers kind of given to you there. On the defensive end, they're a little bit more clear at a lot of positions, but there still are their fair share of position battles that I guess they haven't fully decided on. A big interesting one for me was at defensive end. Kind of got the vibe, and what you heard all offseason was it's Tyler Barron's job. It isn't necessarily not his job, but he is listed with an oar with Dominic Bailey. You look over at defensive tackle, we expect a lot of Omar Norman Lott this season, a transfer from Arizona State. He's got an oar with Bryson Eason. And then at cornerback, they have 4 guys listed as starters right now. One of the spots, Kamal Haddon and Warren Burrell, both listed as oars. And then the other one, Doneiko, who we just talked about, a guy who should make a big impact this year, listed as an oar with Gabe Judy-Lawley. Slaughter actually talked very highly of Gabe Judy-Lawley earlier, so I think that unit's pretty confident. Not as big of a deal to not be that starter on the defensive end, of course, because a lot more rotation going through your defensive backs and your linemen than maybe your offensive line. But another interesting note there. And the final thing that was a bit interesting to me is in the specialist area. Your place kicker is going to be Charles Campbell. Your punter is going to be Jackson Ross. That's no surprise. Kickoff specialist, that job has been won by Josh Turbeville, backup punter, now stepping in as that kickoff guy. I guess kind of decided he has the biggest leg in that situation, can give them those touchbacks and what they need. So he's not going to see the field as a kicker or punter necessarily, but he'll see his fair share of time as that kickoff specialist.
And really interesting too, because we just talked to those guys last week, and you kind of got the vibe that it wasn't settled yet, and maybe they learned a lot over the last week, which Josh Heupel today was asked about that, how important that week is before game week, and he said they felt like they learned a lot. So maybe one of those battles that was settled, but it seems like just yesterday we were talking to those guys, and they said that battle at that place kicking position was kind of going on still. So now we got some answers, it looks like. Yeah,
they're very hesitant to kind of give that official answer. I think it was Charles Campbell listed pretty much the entire specialist unit for guys that were in contention. But it looks like Mike Eckler has found his guy. We'll see, of course, everything can change as you go forward. But another interesting spot on that special teams unit, of course, D. Williams is kind of that guy that you expect to be that big return man. Also heard a little bit about Squirrel White possibly getting his name in the mix. Well, punt return, no surprise, it's D. Williams as that number one starter, and then Squirrel White right behind him as that backup option. Well, in the kick return, they've got an or situation. Yep. D. Williams, more of a punt return guy, can also do the kick returns. He's listed as one of the starters. You'd expect it to be Squirrel White in that other spot.
Yeah.
It's going to be backup running back Cameron Selden, though. Big running back, versatile guy on the offensive end, but it looks like he might be able to make an impact this year. As a returner, we'll see if they try to put them both on the field at the same time, one of those situations, or if it's just kind of a alternation as they try to pick one. It'll be interesting to see exactly what that special team unit does with that situation.
And I think it says a lot about Cam Selden because, again, in the spring, heard a lot about those guys because you had Jabari Small and Jalen Wright limited. Those guys had a chance to step up. This isn't at running back, but they're looking to get him on the field. So I think that says a lot. And he talked about that today when he was asked about the specialist. Josh Heupel did say that there are a lot of opportunities there for the freshmen to get on the field. And it's interesting to see Cam Selden right there behind D. Williams. Again, kick return was another battle last week they were talking about that hadn't been settled. And now you get a little bit better picture of the depth chart now.
And it's a position that you really have to be mature in. Yeah. It's a spot that a lot of guys, they catch that ball, they see the green field in front of them, and they want to make that big play. Sometimes you have to eat it. You have to take that knee in the end zone. You have to call for the fair catch on punt situations or whatever it is. So you have to be a mature guy and know when to pick your spots. So I think that also speaks a lot about Cam Selden and kind of his mindset going into this season, knowing at least they have trusted him to do what's best for the team.
And D. Williams, too, this guy's seen a lot of football. He saw it here last year at this level in the SEC, but played JUCO before he got here. He's returned a lot of punts. He said kickoff was new for him this fall and working in that. And he talked about how difficult that is with the different setup, guys coming at you a lot faster than they are on punt teams. So, again, it's really impressive that Cam Selden's worked his way into that position.
Yeah, a little bit longer of an episode, but we'll cut it off there. A lot to talk about, obviously, with the depth chart. If you want to see what the full depth chart looks like, we have it posted over at VolReport.com, so you can analyze it, make some judgments for yourself, and then we'll also have our takeaways from the depth chart. We touched on a couple of them talking right now, but we'll go a little bit more in depth in written form over at VolReport.com as well. It's going to be a busy week heading into this football season, but we're really excited. If you want to follow along and stay up to date on everything, like I said, head over to VolReport.com, but also subscribe right here to our YouTube channel. We'll have more of these type of stand-ups heading into the week one game, detailing what Josh Heupel has to say. We're going to talk to some more defensive guys tomorrow as well. And we're also going to sit down with Brad Franklin of CavsCorner.com, Virginia's site on the Rivals Network. So if you want to know exactly what to expect from the Cavaliers team, make sure you check that out. That'll be posted on Thursday. But thank you guys for watching and supporting everything we do.